So, in our lesson today, we're going to continue on with managing a service dog in the home and what that's going to look like. And of course, it's going to look a little bit different for each individual recipient. I love that Little Angels literally trains our dogs and changes lives one dog at a time. So it does look different for every individual, and we're going to be giving you specific advice when you're getting your service dog that's unique to your situation and unique to your dog. But these are just in general tips that are going to be applicable to most people. It is so much work to place one dog. It is so much. And there was a day last week when you guys, honestly, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. There's so much administration, and there's so many people that we want to update and keep apprised of everything that's happening in the organization. And I had also done handler training like all that week, and so it's really tiring. It takes 110% of who I am to do handler training, and it's one recipient and one dog and their family members that they have there with them. And it should take 110% of who I am to do it, because I'm giving it my all. I am giving everything that I have to that recipient, and we've given everything that we have in training that dog. It's lessons. Like, we don't do, like, one trainer doesn't work with a group of dogs all at the same time, except for in cases when we are proofing downstays. So like if I have a dog that I'm really working on making sure that downstay is super perfect, we'll have a bunch of dogs running around in the play yard or in the training room just to make sure that dog's going to stay there. Then we might consider that like one trainer in a group of dogs, but most of the time it's literally one recipient at a time, one dog at a time. And then I'm looking at our waiting list and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of people. And sometimes you're just feeling like so tired. But you know what? Tomorrow is a new day. And then a beautiful thing happened. Another part of my administration that day was to do our Assistance Dogs International Census for 2023. And I was uploading all of our information, like how many trainers, volunteers we have, how many dogs we placed, what types of dogs they were that year, what tasks they were assisting with, and all of that. And then I added up the number of dogs that Little Angels has placed, one dog at a time, changing lives one dog at a time, and it was 179. And that number, like, it brought me to literal tears, because I was so tired that day after doing handler training. And then I'm thinking, wow, like, the cumulative, all of the work and all of the lives that we've changed. So it is totally worth it. And I am so glad that each of our trainers and each of our staff members put in 110% of their efforts to get it done. And I'm glad that we're tired at the end of the day. If we weren't tired, we're not working very hard. So it was good. But going back to that one dog at a time, it will be unique. It will be a unique situation for you. So if you have any questions at the end of everything that I'm going through, voice your questions, and we will have Natalie and her dog here and her mom here with us to do this Q&A session. So ask those questions too. Ask what made their situation unique. You can ask me what made their situation unique, just to hear it from each person's perspective. I think is good. I had a lot of positive feedback from families that got to see the interview that we did the last lesson. And so we're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep having people come back, because it's one thing to hear it from me, but I'm a completely different perspective than what you have. So we'll make sure that happens. And then after you get your dog, maybe you'll come on and you'll talk to a group of people and tell people how your experience went for you. I'm going to recap a little bit on what we went over the last time before I jump in. So the first thing that we talked about last lesson was the perfect timing. We're ensuring that this is a good time for you to come and get your dog. And the reason we do that is because there is added stress when you are getting your service dog, not just the travel of handler training, but the follow-up afterward. And the proper management is going to really help with those stress levels. And even talking about it now will help with your stress levels, because you have sort of an idea of what that can look like. We talked about the importance of keeping in touch with your trainer at Little Angels, and that we're going to be in contact for at least 30 days. after you get your dog every single day. If we don't hear from you, we're going to text you and be like, how's it going? And at some point, you're going to be a little annoyed that we just want to always know how's it going. But we want to be sure that we're hitting and touching every single angle of your new life together with this dog. We went over the fact that everyone is going to have an opinion about your dog and its training, and they want to share it with you. And so you can always refer back to the trainer. Hey, if you have questions, you can contact someone at Little Angels. And they got into everyone's opinion with a grain of salt. Everybody has a different opinion. And even when you look at the world of trainers, every trainer has a different opinion. If you put 10 trainers in a room, you will have 10 different opinions on how to get the job done. And that's okay. But I'm going to touch more on the types of trainers a little bit as a recap, but I'm going to show you a diagram to make what I said last, well, it was still this month, or just earlier this month, what I said in our last lesson, just make it a little more clear, you know, to have a little bit of a visual. So I was talking about the 3 different types of trainers that you have. I said we've got the beggars and the bribers, who are on an extremist side of dog training, and that's where everything has to be positive, 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 and it's sparkly, and we have rainbows and butterflies, and I mean, ideally, that would be my whole life, would have sparkles and rainbows and butterflies. And then we've got, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the yank and crank trainers, and they just are getting the job done really, really fast, and they don't even bother with that positive stuff. They just start yanking on the dog's collar, and it's not a very pretty picture, and you have a dog that responds really, really fast to that, which is why they want to, you know, they're the trainers that want to get it done fast, and they've seen, this gets results, gets the job done really fast, but it's really not fair to the dog, and scientifically it doesn't make sense because the dog can shut down. And then you've got balanced, motivation-based trainers, and I went over LIMA with everyone, which is the least intrusive, minimally aversive method. And I wanted to take a minute and share the diagram on that so that it's really clear. Let me share my screen with you. I have a cute video for us to watch in a minute. So here we have this hierarchy of behavior change procedures. And here we have someone taking a little road trip. They're going down the freeway, and they have all of these different exits that they can take. And this, like I said, is the LIMA, or the least intrusive, minimally aversive diagram or principle that we're following here. And I'm going to go over what that looks like for a balanced trainer. And when I say balanced, I don't mean that we have like an equal amount of treats versus corrections. That's not what I mean. I mean that we have a balanced viewpoint on how training should be done, that we are not an extremist on one end of the spectrum or the other. So with the LIMA principles in mind, the first exit that you would take here would be the wellness and the nutritional and the physical. So to explain this, I'm going to use my example of a dog that wants to chase a squirrel. And you have a dog, and let's say that this is a service dog. It's already been placed. It never had any of these squirrel chasing issues with the trainer. And you have this dog. It works really well for you for like, let's say 3 months. And then all of a sudden, a squirrel comes out of nowhere, and your dog got really fixated. The dog was really reactive and pulled toward the squirrel, and it kind of got away with it. And so it's starting to build up these bad reactions to the squirrel. And what we don't want to see happen is for you to get pulled over, because that is a huge safety issue. Another issue, other than you being pulled over by this really strong dog that has really great leverage. I mean, all 4 of this dog's feet are on the ground, and you've got 2. So it has leverage on you. And we don't want the dog to pull away from you, because it's going to chase the squirrel across the street and, you know, maybe get hit by a car. So in this case, the first thing that we want to do with the LIMA principles, we stop here, we take the first exit, and we look at the dog's wellness, and we look at the dog's nutrition, and we look at the dog's physical characteristics. Like, is it getting everything that its body needs, both both mentally and physically? Does it have enough mental stimulation? Does it have enough physical stimulation? Is there some kind of a medical issue that we have going on here? And so like a question that you would ask here is the dog getting enough exercise? Is it pulling because it's just like has all of this pent up energy and it doesn't know what to do with itself? And oh my gosh, there's a squirrel. And of course, if they have a lot of energy, that's going to be bad. So one of the management techniques that I always recommend is that you walk your dog in the beginning of the day. And you've heard me say this before in multiple sessions, but it's not as helpful, even if you walked your dog in the evening every day. In the evening, it's not helping the dog with all the pent up energy that they had in the beginning of the day. So giving that dog the exercise that they need initially, everything is just calmed down throughout the rest of the day. It's really, in my opinion, it would be unfair to ask a dog to do a distracted down stay or to do a perfect heel with squirrels running in front of it if it has a lot of pent up energy. Dogs need to run. They need it. And so we'll talk to you about your unique dog and what works for them as an individual. The second exit that we would take, if we look here and we're like, yes, the dog's getting exercised in the morning, this is not an issue, we go to the second exit. And that's looking at the antecedents and the arrangements. I think that they have a little picture of a stage because you're setting the stage. What can we do in the dog's environment to change things? So you redesign the setting of events, you change motivations, and you add or remove discriminative stimuli or the cues for the problem behavior. So maybe in this case, or let me use a case with like a pet dog. It doesn't work for a service dog, so we're gonna have to bypass that. But for a pet dog, it would be, could you walk your dog in an area that doesn't have squirrels? Now, for a pet owner, this is possible. They could do that because the easiest thing for them to do would be to walk their dog in their neighborhood because they just have to walk out the door. But what if they like are encountering these squirrels at a certain park that they go to, or it's a certain college that they go to? Now, that starts to become pretty tricky when you have a service dog because you can't control all of the different environments you go into. In fact, with a service dog, you have to have so many tools in your tool belt that you can manage that dog regardless of the situation and the environment that you're going into. But of course, if there is a way to set the stage, we want to look at that. It might even be that you could set the stage by, let's say that your dog was chasing squirrels in the backyard, or like it was reactive toward other dogs. Maybe you put up a different type of fencing and that could solve the issue, right? And some of you are thinking, wow, like this is super, super basic, but we're only on exit number 2. And like I said, a lot of these things don't work practically when you're taking your dog with you literally everywhere that you go as a service dog. Okay, so then we're going to look at exit number 3, and this is positive reinforcement. So this is employing approaches that contingently deliver a consequence to increase the probability that the desired behavior will occur. So this could be that we click or train a heel. So positive reinforcement is rewarding a behavior that we want to have happening. So if we teach the dog what to do in the first place, like we really want the dog motivated to heel, you know, it's going to be paying attention to us, hopefully, more than the squirrel. Well, let's say that we do that in exit number 3, and we have clicker trained the dog to heel, which you will get a dog that is clicker trained to heel. And the treat is not as awesome as the squirrel. Of course it's not. So then we move on to exit number 4. And here we're looking at the differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors. Sometimes you'll hear a trainer just refer to this as DRA because it's much faster to say. This is a reinforcement of an acceptable replacement behavior and to remove the remaining reinforcer that is causing the problem behavior. So this could be, I know that's a lot of trainer lingo, this could be watch me. So we're walking along, there's a squirrel, like watch me. Here's another behavior that you could do and you're gonna get rewarded for it. So that's the DRA. Well, you know what? We've done all of these things and the dog still doesn't care about this extra thing that they're being told to do, because again, it just comes back to the treat. And there's things also along the way here where you could try to make that treat even better for the dog. Like we're looking at how often are you giving the dog a treat? Do you give the dog a treat just once and then it's looking back at the squirrel, or are you like treat, 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 and you're like getting the treat out as fast as you can? Of course, we're doing that in the training process, but hopefully by the time we get the dog to you, you might be doing that on some walks with your dog in the beginning, and in the very few days of handler training, we're really getting that engagement to happen between you and your dog. We do not expect that you would need to do treat, 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 treat. It's just not practical. That is totally bribing and begging the dog to help you, and to not pull you over and to not, run out into the street. But there could be times when we're going along and training, and all of a sudden your dog has this new problem behavior chasing the squirrels, where we say, we need you to get your treats out. Like, give the dog a lot of treats, and let's change the motivation for the treats. Let's use a very special treat for this, like the very best thing that they could possibly get. Like, is that some cheese, a cheese stick, or a hot dog, something that's not even like a regular dog treat? Like, let's boost that to really get the dog involved here. So we've gone through all of these exits, and let's say that the dog still wants to chase the squirrel. So then we're looking at negative punishment, we're looking at extinction, we're looking at negative reinforcement. So these things get a little more complex, and the timing has to be like exactly there for the dog to get it. And so you're definitely working with us. I mean, you're going to call us the first time that your dog chases a squirrel, or even was like, whoosh, and got to the end of the leash. If you're surprised by a behavior your dog did, you call us, like, help me. My dog did this thing. This is what I think I'm supposed to be doing based on what we went over in handler training. But I just want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing here. So we would talk, if we get to this point up here where we're looking at yellow, and like we've gone pretty far, tried everything else, we're going to talk to you about the timing, like loose leash, moving away from the squirrel, and the timing has to be really perfect for all of these different things to happen. Now, let's say that we did all of these things and it's still not working. Then we get all the way up to here. We're at the end of the road. It's the very last exit that we could take. And we're talking about what's called positive punishment. And we've got our 4 quadrants in operant conditioning, which I'll go over with everyone later just to explain some more trainer lingo. But this basically means, in our case, we're going to pop the leash and say, no, heel. And then the dog has 2 reasons to do what you asked them to do. They're going to get a reward for healing with you, and they're going to get a correction for not doing it. And we want to avoid that, because it would be humane. Like if you compare this to telling your kids to take out the trash, like the very first time they didn't take out the trash, and you're like, this is an isolated incident. They didn't take out the trash because they were playing video games, and where they're distracted or something, highly motivated to do something other than taking out the trash, basically. You wouldn't like immediately take away screen time for the whole month. Like you would go up a little bit, like it would gradually, get worse and worse. So like you're trying all these other means, like convincing them, like, hey buddy, I told you to take out the trash and you didn't do it. I need to know why, like we all have to work together. It's a family. And like, hey, if you do this, like maybe you're talking about giving them an allowance, like, whatever it is, whatever parental choices that you're making with your kid, you don't just jump to like a major extreme. But that's what's happening when you've got a yank and crank trainer. They don't even try all of these other methods. They are just like hammering that dog really hard immediately. And you get a dog that the behavior stops for sure. Like they have stopped chasing the squirrel. I'm not arguing that. But it was more extreme than what they needed to have happen. And you can get a dog that shuts down because the correction could be so intense and so hard. It was very difficult on the dog, and they could even stop learning because it was so extreme. And you didn't give them the freedom to make choices at all of these other stops. And then you have the beggars and the bribers who wouldn't even go there. They would stay over here somewhere. So different extremes. So that's what I mean by balanced, is that we can look at all of these approaches to change behaviors, but we're going in order. Moving away from that, I'm going to show this little video that I found it on YouTube or Instagram or something. And I just thought it was so funny because I was talking to you guys last time about crate training, and like this is not a cage. We're conditioning your dog to do well in the crate, and the crate is one of those major areas of management, a major tool of management that help to make your life so much easier. And I just found it really funny as a mother seeing this, so I'm going to play it for you. So if you can't see, at the top it says 6 years into owning a dog, 3 years into motherhood, and I just figured out what this thing is for. So we're giving the dog a nice, quiet place where they can take a timeout. And I'm not talking about a punishment timeout. Like, you didn't clean your room, go sit on the chair, you're on timeout. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, as a parent, when you go into your room and you shut the door and you're like, oh, I just needed a timeout. That's what it's like for the dog. They need to have a breather. Like, it's so funny that this little baby's like reaching in and like trying to get to mom. And sometimes that's what the dog needs. They need their own space. They need to be in there where other, the kids or like other animals in the home are not pestering them. They're just in there enjoying their own time. But it does help to prevent some behavior problems when you can't watch your dog. So if you can't watch your dog, if you can't have the leash on your dog for that first month at the very least, then you're gonna put them in the crate because that's the safest thing that you could possibly do for them. And then we went on and we started talking about the obedience being another management tool. So you're getting a dog that's already trained and it can do the downstays. We talked about the best type of boundary for your dog to understand is the psychological boundary of I'm on a downstay and I need to stay here and I can't just be chasing after the kids when they run past me. I can't just go do my own thing. I can't just get up and go drink from the toilet. I can't go counter surfing. I can't jump up on the people when they're coming in the house. And like your dog is already learning all of these different things individually when they are with their trainer. Nobody is getting a dog that was only ever raised in a kennel environment. No one is getting a dog that was only ever raised in one of our prison programs. You're getting a dog who has been in an individual's home and in a family's home, and there have been other animals around, and real toilets to drink out of, and real counters to go surfing on, and real trash cans that are full of all kinds of stinky things that the dogs want to get into. So they've been in this real life, not just a classroom. They've been there. They've been on all these different field trips. And having the obedience commands there really help you to mitigate the trouble that your dog could get into. So yeah, your dog is going to be wearing a leash for the first month that it is with you, like I said, at the very least, and that helps you to correct behavior problems that could pop up pretty quickly. And it's teaching your dog, this is not okay, this is not okay, these other things are okay. So you, again, you're looking at our LIMA principles and you're taking all of those exits. Like your dog got exercise in the morning, you're giving your dog chew toys, you're making sure your dog gets crate time, you're teaching your dog DRA, you're teaching them other types of behaviors that they could be doing other than all of these other naughty things. But an article that I was reading actually today was from a trainer who got a new dog, and they had set up even baby gates. Like, I'm not a baby gate person. I think I went over that in the last lesson. I want to be able to move about my house freely, and I want to rely on obedience training to keep my dog from going in other areas. But they had just gotten this dog. It wasn't in a downstay. It wasn't in a crate. They thought it couldn't get in the kitchen, but the dog was actually up on the counter, up on the stove, eating macaroni and cheese out of the pot. And holy cow, that is very concerning. and she corrected her dog for it. She got the leash on and corrected it, and like taught the dog, you can't do this. So the baby gates were shut. The dog had jumped over the gate. Obviously, this dog jumps really well since it jumped on top of the counter. But not only could a dog get really, really hurt doing something like that, but it could burn the house down. It wouldn't take a lot for them to be like licking the macaroni off of the stovetop and turn that dial, and all sorts of other things could be happening. So really pretty frightening. So that leash is helping us to maintain that control, the management, to make sure things like that don't happen. When you're having house guests come over, I have the dog either in a heel with me, answering the door, or I'm having the dog to downplay in the beginning. I'm talking about later on. You could have the dog come with you without the leash on to answer the door, and the dog has learned, even in your home, not just the trainer's home, that they have to be calm when people are coming in, even though you're super excited to see the guest, even though you're super excited to get the Amazon package or whatever reason that you're answering your front door. The dog's not getting all excited, wanting to jump up on the mailman or your guests. And of course, these are natural, normal dog behaviors that the dogs want to do, but it's not appropriate for them to do that. So if your dog was in heel and your dog was on a leash, they wouldn't be able to jump up. You'd be able to correct them pretty quickly and say, oh, nope, that is absolutely not something we do. That is not safe for anybody. We can't knock anybody down. And having a bed for the dog to go to also is a very useful tactic or method that we might encourage you to employ. So every time the doorbell rings, you can send your dog to their bed. They get a treat for going there. They love being there. It's not about the excitement of you going to the door and then they're going to be jumping up on the person. It's completely separate. So they have to stay in their own separate space. While watching all of the activity happen, you're hugging your guests as they're coming in, and they're so excited, like, oh, I love what you did with your hair, and your lawn looks amazing. It's so good to see you, whatever you're talking about. It's all in a happy, chipper voice. The dog still has to be calm. And that psychological barrier that's there just kind of keeps them out of the way. But you are also preventing this, I guess, habit of being really, really excited at the door with you. So again, that's going to be based on the dog. All right, so I see that Natalie has joined us, and it is 6:30 on the dot, so I'm going to be really prompt. Hi, Natalie. So I'm going to be really prompt, and we're going to open up, and Lisa, hi. Is Dexter there too?
Yeah, he is.
We were wondering if he might show up with us. There he is. Oh, he's so big and beautiful and calm. Anyway, so I let our recipients know, and depending on the view of your screen, you may or may not be able to see everybody that's here, but we've got a pretty good group of people here. And I'm going to go through the list to see, I'll just call people in order that I see them on my screen. It's going to be different on your screen. So don't think I'm putting you last on purpose. It's just maybe that's how you joined. But I will go through each person and say, would you like to ask Natalie a question? And so on.